AI can help you learn, and you should use AI to help you study. If you're not using the latest tools to help you study, then are you absolutely doing your best because you put a lot of effort into studying and you want to maximize the results from your study effort? So think about it like if you took your car to a mechanic because your check engine light came on and they didn't put in their computer tester, their OBD2 tester, to find out what's wrong. They just went in and started changing parts or doing something. It doesn't make sense. You always want to use the latest and most up to date tools to help you be the best that you can be and to really maximize your returns for the effort that you're putting in. So we want to minimize the effort as much as possible and maximize our returns. And always remember that using AI is not a life hack. It's really an intentional way of helping you learn in a more efficient way. So it helps you get better faster. It still takes effort. Effort is always required. It's just that if you're going to put in effort, you want to get the maximum effect for that effort. So in reality, if you're struggling a little bit, that's a good thing. When you struggle, learning actually sticks better because there's a thing called desirable difficulty. Dr. Bjork came up with it. And what that means is there is a level of difficulty that we can think of like our sweet spot where learning sticks the best. And if it's learning's too simple, it's kind of like writing something in the sand, and when a wave comes up, it washes it away. It just doesn't stick when it's too simple. And when it's too hard, we simply abandon. We abandon whatever we're trying to learn because it's simply too difficult. So we want to be in that spot where it's difficult, where we have to struggle a little bit, but then we can reach that. And that spot, that place is a little bit different for every single one of us. So, with that being said, that struggling is a part of the learning process and a good part of the learning process, there is no perfect way to study. There are better ways to place your efforts, but no perfect way to study. So, for the best results, you have to put in intentional effort that it takes. And it doesn't mean that it's going to make it easy. It's going to mean that you're being very intentional. It'll be more meaningful for you as you do it. And these artificial intelligence tools will help you maximize your results. So, it's going to help you minimize your effort. So, that just means lower your efforts a little bit or maintain the same amount of effort but getting more results from it. And that's really the key. We want to maximize our results. And in order to do this, we are going to use the PAPR method, paper without an E, and it stands for prepare, acquire, practice, and reflect. So, what do you think? We're going to prepare, acquire, practice, reflect. So, that is a very first intention. How are we setting this up? So, now we know prepare, acquire, practice, reflect. So, that's our intentionality. Now, let's start connecting in some tools and learning what these four stages are. So what do you think about the prepare stages? We're in the prepare stage. What are we doing? Some people think it's like setting up their study space, and that can be part of preparing. But what we're talking about here is preparing ourselves to take in this new content. We're preparing ourselves to connect the content that we're about to learn with our existing content so we can make it stick. So how do we prepare and how can we use tools, AI tools specifically, to help us in this preparation stage? Well, first off, the one of the biggest first pieces of preparing at a high level is simply use AI to give you a quiz about the content that's coming up, multiple choice quiz, and then give you feedback as to what the right answer is right away. That is one amazing way to help prepare, to get ready to get started. But also, you can do things like predict what's going to happen, and you can have a game with your favorite GPT to predict what you're going to learn and see who's right. So that is a great way to start. Acquiring is the next step. How do we do that? And how do we utilize artificial intelligence GPTs to help us do this? Well, it's kind of neat because as we're acquiring, we're really encoding that information to prepare it to store so we can then recall it and use it, because the whole goal for the way we acquire is to be able to bring it back to recall it so we can use the knowledge in creative ways to solve really complex issues. Because as you know, all the issues, pretty much all the issues that we're trying to solve are really complex. So we want to be able to use our acquired knowledge creatively. And one way that you can do that with your favorite GPT is We already mentioned quizzing in the prepare action in the prepare phase. So now we're going to acquire it, read something or watch the video, whatever it may be, and then use your favorite GPT to give you those quizzes again and then tell you what the right answer. So you know what? We're using that quick multiple choice quiz or even write down what you just learned. And that helps you acquire things faster because the worst way to acquire content is to reread something. You want to be active. So the acquiring of knowledge, the encoding of knowledge, is an active learning sort of thing. So the acquisition of this knowledge is a byproduct of your activity, of your active learning with that specific piece of content. Now we're jumping in and we're going to practice. So we've acquired this knowledge. Now we want to practice it so we could use it really well. And there are many, many different ways that you could use your artificial intelligence to help you do that and to maximize your time. One way that I like to do it is write everything I know about whatever topic it was that I just read about or just studied. And then once I do that, guess what I do? I ask ChatGPT, okay, so what am I missing? So now I get that direct feedback and now I can have that conversation with the tool. So it's really cool. That's one really simple way to help you practice. Quizzing that we did in the prepare and the acquire phase is also incredibly helpful. Now we are at the reflect portion of this. So we've prepared, we've acquired, we've practiced. Now we're going to reflect. An active reflection is a wonderful way to help content stick. The more we reflect, the deeper we get into it. Thought, okay, what did I just learn? How did it connect to my previous knowledge? That helps me that helps me take that new content that I just learned and apply it to existing frameworks, existing networks that I already have in my mind, in my brain. And when we do that, that is when the learning sticks the best. So I would suggest here, feel free to stay away from artificial intelligence and just take this as a point in time to get away from everything and just pause. Or you can actually use your favorite GPT and reflect and have a reflective conversation back and forth. Oh, now that I've learned this is what I've learned. I think I'm going to be able to apply it this way. And then you can have that back and forth conversation with it. We have a couple really neat events coming up. So on April 30th, we have our AI in Action Compete, Learn, Lead conference that's going to be a part of our case competition that we have. But the AI in Action conference is open to anyone and everyone, and it is meant to just open a dialogue where we share what everyone is doing. We have speakers. Kavita Guy from Nectar IO is going to be our keynote speaker, and we have people from all over the country. It's a virtual event and it's a free event, and they're going to be sharing what they have done. We're going to have 15-minute dives and 5-minute recorded, we call them 5-minute flares. They're going to be recorded in the Hall of Awesomeness. You can go in and see those as well. So go ahead and submit your presentation idea, and also sign up for the conference. We'd love to see you there. The AI competition, the AI case competition, I should say, is something that we think is absolutely amazing. So teams of 4, students create teams of 4. They're going to compete on April 30th. They're going to be given the case, and they're going to have to come up with a solution for the case. It's going to have something to do with artificial intelligence and implementing within their university or a university. It doesn't have to be there. It's just a university in general. And it's a lot of fun. Kavita Guy and Nectar are allowing students to be able to use their AI assistants for 2 weeks prior to the case competition, so they could get in, play, manipulate, utilize these AI assistants prior to even getting the case, because you're not going to know exactly what that case is until you get it on April 30th. And you have a few hours to come up with a solution, record a video, and then we'll come out with the winners. And the first place prize is $500, second place prize $300, and the third place is $200. So it is going to be a lot of fun. So put your teams together, and we hope to see you there. So now we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive, and you be the judge on how you could use your favorite GPT to help you in each of these stages. So let's look at the prepare stage first. Prepare, you want to have a goal. What is the goal? So if I'm going to be intentional about learning, if I'm going to be intentional about anything, I want to have a goal. What is my goal for this study session that I'm in? What duration is it, and What do I want to get from it? What are my specific goals? And then predict what you're going to learn within that study session, and then begin connecting what you believe, what your predictions, how you think that this new material is going to connect with previous content that you already have in your brain. So there's multiple ways to use artificial intelligence, your favorite GPT, to be able to do that. So think of multiple ways you can do that, because in your preparation phase, you want to create a goal, predict, and then connect. Now we're in the acquire phase. We're going to encode, store, and retrieve. And in the context of learning encoding, it really refers to the process where we're transforming information into a format that can be stored better within our memory. So we're taking in information and we're storing it. So we're preparing it to store, then we store. And if we store things neatly, then guess what? Then we can retrieve it even better. Because believe it or not, memory does matter. Retrieving, your ability to retrieve matters, because if you don't have to use as much energy to retrieve, you can begin thinking in creative ways to use that piece of knowledge to solve complex issues. So how can we encode better? Well, there's several types of encoding. So let's talk about that just for a brief second. So semantic encoding is processing information based on its meaning, and it is the most effective encoding method for long-term memory, to create that durable or that sticky learning that we like to talk about. So we want to kind of really lean into the semantic encoding, where we process that information based on its meaning. And GPTs can help us do that a lot. So how do we do this? Well, remember when uh, we talked about acquiring, and we're going to read a little bit, give ourselves a quiz, write something about it. Well, we're also going to connect. Remember, we've been talking about connecting a lot. We're going to be connecting how does this fit with my previous knowledge? So what new things can I bring into it? So you begin thinking not just as a memorization point, but at a point where you can take the meaning of whatever that is and utilize that with something else to come up with an alternate use for things. And that's really where a lot of intelligence is alternative uses for things. How can we make things happen? How can we use this in an alternative way to get a better result, whatever that may be? So that's really a great way to encode, and we can use our GPTs to test, so we can go back and forth talking about. You can literally have a conversation, write up a good prompt for a GPT, and literally have a good conversation, go back and forth on how you can use that in alternative ways. So then you're beginning to look at it from its meaning rather than its literal, whatever it is. And that helps us store memories better, more cleaner, because remember, the cleaner that you store, the easier it is to find stuff. If you put away things, everything in its place, is incredibly important, even as a mechanic. If you don't have your toolbox set up where everything's in its place, you spend half your time looking for stuff. And that is a waste of time when it comes to retrieving, because we don't want to do that. We want to be able to retrieve that information and really bring it forward so we can use what we know in creative ways to solve those complex issues. And in our practice session, we like talking about cognitive, associative, and autonomous. And that really comes from Fitz and Posner's three stages of skill acquisition, where our cognitive stage, it's all about thinking and understanding. So that's the very beginning. We're thinking, we're understanding. It's that beginning phase. We're just starting to take that in. So now we want to be able to think about it in certain ways. We want to be able to practice thinking about it. And then we're making those associations. So with our practice, we want to make those associations with what we already have. So further creating those associations. So when we practice, we can use ChatGPT actually to help us create those associations even more and even deeper by asking ourselves questions, going through it, actively engaging with the content. And how can I use this in this aspect? So a while back, I had an issue here at work. How can I use what I'm learning here? How would that have affected that? So we're starting to make those associations. You can use ChatGPT to help you actually begin making those associations. So that's one thing that's very powerful. And then finally, by doing that and working with your favorite GPT, it'll then generally come into the autonomous stage, where That's a skill that it's second nature. So that's one of those things that happen. Well, I didn't even realize I did it, but you did it. Like if you ever thought about driving home and it was a hard day at work and you made it all the way home, you're like, wow, I don't even remember driving home, but you did. It was autonomous. That may not be the best of examples, but doing something where it's second nature, it feels natural, is really that autonomous piece. So if you leave here with just three things, remember these three critical points. Learn in context. You always want to learn within the context. Learning doesn't happen in a vacuum. You don't want to just learn facts by themselves. That does not help. It does not help it stick. You want to learn in the context of whatever you're learning. That gives it meaning. And then you want to leverage your association. So open up your networks and your mental networks and let that new information connect where it should. You want to leverage those associations. So actively pursue associating what your new learning with your previous experience or your previous learning. Absolutely critical. And then remember, struggling is good. If you're not struggling, you're not creating any lasting learning, right? If it's too easy, it's not going to stick. So you want to struggle a bit, not too much where you abandon, but you want to struggle so you can retain that information. And we went over a ton of ways that AI can help you with this, your favorite GPTs. I would love to hear your thoughts about what you can use your favorite GPT with to really even further drive home and make your study time even more effective. Because remember, what we want to do is we want to lower the effort level. We want to minimize the effort, maximize the outcome. So that's what we want to do with all of this.